Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me now, and I'm excited to be with you today. And I think I'm going to cut to the chase, and let's get to what we are here to do. If you can hear me, please, can you just put something in the chat, just for me to know that you can hear me loud and clear? Just anything in the chat, just to let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. Just want to be sure that yes. You and Day, good to have you here. Can you hear me, you and Day? Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Good. So nice to have us here. You can put something in the chat, just to let me know where you are calling from or where you are joining from. This is live. Oh, Billy. Okay, yes, Billy can hear me. Awesome. Billy, we are on YouTube. So if you can join us on YouTube, that would be nice. Um, Let me see. We're on YouTube, Billy. If you can join us, fine. If you can't, you can just stay where you are. So good to have everybody. I'm glad to be here. Please let me know where you're joining from. Um, Calgary, Mary Gay, good to have you. Yes. I can see United Kingdom. Wow, United Kingdom is quite late. I think we need to start Winnipeg. Awesome. I think we need to start on time so we can let Abiodun go to bed. But I'm really glad that I'm here, and I'm sure we're going to have an exciting time today. You and Winnipeg. Any other person? Okay. Okay, good, good, good. So let's start our webinar today. I'll quickly share my screen and we'll move on, just so that we can save some time. Awesome. So um, let me not show too much of my picture. You already know me. So today we are going to be talking about navigating your first business analysis uh, assignment or project. Yes, I can see you, Bill. You are joining from Winnipeg. John Mosugu, I'm sorry. You're joining from John, British Columbia, I assume. Good to have you, John. Good to have you. Bill, good to have you. Hoops Gaming, I don't know who that is, but you're joining from Toronto. I'm glad you are here. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to have an exciting time today. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this particular topic, please, you can keep posting where you're joining from so I know I can interact with you a lot better. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this topic is that I have friends, I have students, I have colleagues, I have clients that reach out to me and say, "Oh, Harry, I'm doing my first project. What do I do?" Or, "Harry, I'm confused about this." Or, "Harry, this is happening in my project. What do you think is the next step for me to take?" And I just felt that it would be good to like talk about the basic things that are required a from a business analysis point of view when you just start a new job as a BA, or you are a new BA starting your first project. So either way works. So this webinar is going to be, but before I do that quickly, let me just talk about NineTech Consulting. In NineTech Consulting, we do trainings, we do coaching. We have a training course that is coming up in October, by October 7th. I want to encourage us to be part of it. I would have a promo for that training that I'm only going to do for this webinar, and it's going to only last for like 5 hours before it is 12 a.m. my time. So anybody that is able to key in into that, will enjoy that particular freebie. Um, we provide coaching and mentoring, meaning that if you are doing your business analysis work and you are not exactly sure where to start, or there are some things going on in your project and you would like help, you can always engage us, and we have a couple of senior BAs and project managers, data analysts, data scientists, and we'll find a way to provide some form of mentoring and coaching. We do resume reviews, mock interviews, webinars, And like you're attending now, we also provide internship opportunities when they are available. And we train in business analysis, project management, change management, the agile framework, everything data, and also product management. For this webinar, is going to run for about 1 hour, and you can always post your questions uh, in the chat section, and I'll answer your questions from there. So a little about me. I am a business analyst, a certified business analyst. I have over, I think I'll say 17 years experience offering IT services, working with stakeholders, and I've won several awards. In different organizations that I worked with. I have a bachelor's degree in engineering and a master's degree in business administration, and I have all kinds of certifications. So that's just a list. I do that because I always want to learn and always want to get better and always want to know what is most trending, so that I love knowledge. So I crave for knowledge. So that's what make me write certifications. I have certifications that are not here, but really that doesn't matter right now. And I'm the founder of NineTech Learning, and here we do business and technology training. We also provide consulting services to small and medium-sized organizations, and we also provide training services to individuals and corporate organizations. Good. So today we are going to be talking about how to navigate your first business analysis project, and we are going to look at that from different perspectives. So we're going to look at, first of all, your first project. What should you be doing? How should you start? We are also going to look at project integration. How do you integrate yourself as a new BA into a project? Maybe an existing project, maybe a new project, or maybe you're already an experienced BA and you're in a new organization or you're in a new project completely. How do you integrate yourself? We're going to talk about that. Communication and collaboration is so important. Remember, as business analysts, communication skills is one of your key skills. And of course, I don't think you are working with robots, you're working with human beings. So you must learn communication styles, and you must learn how to collaborate with people to get the best results. Because in business analysis, we work with all kinds of stakeholders. So it's very key to understand that project understanding, document analysis, the project phases, the inputs and deliverables of those phases. So now let's start. Number one, it is important that you do well. So you might see me looking sideways. It's because I'm looking at the chat just to make sure that in case any message comes in, I can pick it up. So as a business analyst, it is very important that you put your first foot forward. You don't want to give the wrong impression. So remember, this is your first project, or this is your first project in this organization, and you don't want to give the wrong vibe. So it is very important that you put your best foot forward, and remember, first impressions matter. Now, if you already started a project and it doesn't look like it's going on well, don't worry. We'll talk about tips that you can use to remedy things. But I just want to say that it is very critical that you put your best foot forward. And also important, it's very important that you um, show them that yes, you are competent, and you can actually do that which you say that you can do. Okay, so the number one thing that I want us to look at is just give me a second. My slide is not working the way I want it to work. Yeah. So one of the first things you should do in your first project is to build credibility. Remember, this is your first project. Maybe this is the first organization you are working in as a BA. You need to build credibility. And for you to build credibility, you need to ensure that you deliver what quality work. You need to ensure that you are competent. People need to see that you are competent about what you do. And that's what we give them the confidence to work with you. And that's why your first project it really matters. How you speak, how you approach your stakeholders, your plan, all these things are critical. So this slide is just to tell you that it is very critical that you take your first project seriously. It also helps you to gain valuable experience. Let's say, for instance, you've worked in other areas that are not exactly business analysis, or so to speak, business analysis field. This becomes a valuable experience if you can do it and deliver on the project well. It also influences your career success. And what I mean by that is that confidence comes by trying out something. Confidence comes by trial. Confidence comes by experience. So the trajectory of your career, is focused on it, is relies on your ability to deliver on projects. And since this is your first one, I've had cases where people start their first project and for some reason they lose their job after that first project. So it can go the wrong way, which I don't think about, but it can also go the right way. That is why it needs to be taken a lot seriously. And it also helps you for relationship building. A new organization, there are lots of stakeholders. You can get to know them. You are working on a multi-departmental or multifunctional project, multifunctional a project that engages different functions in the organization. Then you get to meet them. You are working on a customer relationship module project, maybe an upgrade. You get to meet people in the customer relationships team. You get to meet people in HR, just depending on what you are working on. You're working on an ERP. So it gives you that opportunity to begin to build lasting relationships in that organization. Now, not just in the organization, even outside the organization. I have worked with people that I've not worked with in like 5 years, but even outside work, we still communicate, and maybe I need something, they reach out, I reach out to them, or they reach out to me. So I am just trying to say that, and the one that I did not put is that it ensures that your salary keeps coming in because you want to be paid for your job. And the economy right now is so bad that nobody wants to lose his job. So you need to take your first job, your first project you need to take it very seriously and make sure that you put your best foot forward. Now, apart from that, so let's go to the meat now. Project integration is very critical. So you have just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I just noticed something on my slide. Which, 1 second, my slide is frozen. Yes, let me fix this. Just 1 second, please. I will get that sorted out. I have a frozen slide. 1 second, please. Um, okay, so I think we are back now. So let me continue sharing my screen. Yeah, so great. So you have, let me go back to that slide and make this a little smaller. Great. So project integration. How do I integrate myself into this new project, into this pre-existing project? Number one thing, you need to understand that project dynamics. What do I mean by that? You need to understand the project structure. So talk to the project manager. What is the project structure? What is in these organizations, what project delivery method do they use? Do they use agile? Do they use waterfall? Who are the stakeholders? What departments am I going to be working in? So these are some of the project dynamics that you think you should think about. What are the teams? What are the roles? What are their responsibilities? That's the first thing. So don't just get into an organization and into a project and you want to dive into doing your business analysis planning without first of all understanding what you are planning for. So maybe there's pressure for you to deliver. I agree, but You have to take it step by step. So, what is the diamond? What is the role? What is the project name? Who are the teams that I'm going to work with? What are their responsibilities? Who are my key stakeholders? Then the next thing when you understand is build relationship, build stakeholder relationship, get to talk to people, schedule meetings with them, know who your project sponsor is, know who your project manager is. Your project manager and your project sponsor are very key to the success of your project. Get to know them, schedule meetings with them, have talks with them. And maybe sometimes when if you are working physically in the office, have maybe when you're having your coffee break, have some coffee breaks with them, just for you to build relationship, because it's really not all about work. Sometimes you need to get to know these people that you are working with. It is very critical that you get to know them. The next thing is study existing project documentations. So what documentations exist for this project? Are there similar projects that have been done? Can anybody tell me where the repository, where I can find these similar projects, where I can find documentation on these projects? Can anybody give me direction? Get those places. Study your process flows that currently exist. Look for the project charter, look for the business case. All this gives you information about the project before you start diving into that particular project. Make sure that whatever you do align to the project goals that have been set by the project manager and by this project sponsor. So if a project manager says, according to the project goal, we are supposed to do one, two, three, four. Please don't go and do five, six, seven, eight. Try and align with the project goals. Now, when those goals were created to achieve something. If you do not align, at the end of that project, you would never get to the end of delivering success or value for that particular project. So align with the project goals. And if you feel that the project goals were not properly done, have a conversation with the project manager. Don't just go doing your own thing. If you need to integrate with this project, you cannot run in parallel with the project. You must integrate with the project. Acknowledge that there will be integration barriers. And if I tell you that you are not going to face any form of challenge, I am lying. There might be challenges. Hello, Anu, from Maryland. Good to have you. There might be challenges, and challenges can come from different areas. Mostly they come from stakeholders. They come from a stakeholder that is perceived as difficult. You know, it could come from people not knowing who you are and just feeling like, who is this person? You know, so people are a little careful about you. They are not yet open to you. So you must acknowledge that there could be hurdles, there could be conflicts, there could be, you know, all kinds of misunderstanding. Set your mind that they can exist, but have a plan, to overcome them. And I'm sure apart from the project manager, you should have your own manager and try and make your manager your ally. Make sure that your own manager that you're reporting to, or the director that you are reporting to, or the whoever you are reporting to, make sure that you are allies and make sure that that person is constantly kept abreast of what you are doing. Then the last stage is to understand the project phases. And we'll talk a lot about this. I have about 3 or 4 slides on understand the project phase, because every project has its own methodology. Every project has its own phases, and you might be brought into a project where the business requirement document is already complete. All they brought you to do is to come do testing, help with the deployment, and maybe help with documentation for maintenance. So if the business requirement document is already there, why do you want to write new requirements? Except those requirements are not smart and there's a reason for you to refine them or to further refine them or make them more granular. Because if you don't have smart requirements, it's extremely difficult to write test cases. Extremely difficult. Your testing is just going to go the other way around. So we'll talk about that. So let's move on. What is the importance of communication and collaboration? I'm emphasizing this because you are going to be dealing with human beings and you need to have the skills, to be able to communicate effectively, both written and verbal, to these people. So it is very important you learn how to tailor your communication skills. Learn how to tailor your communication skills. Ensure that your communication skills, you are not just communicating with everybody in the same way. The way you communicate to the project manager and the project sponsor is different from the way you communicate to the tester. For instance, if you are going to provide project status updates to your project sponsor and to your manager and to the project manager every maybe you say you want to provide it every day, that's too much information for a project sponsor. But let's say you are doing testing with the end user, daily communication with the end user, it's okay. But daily communication with the project sponsor is not, in short, you actually wear that person out because they don't need all the information. They just need the appropriate information for that particular time. So the right information at the right time. So you need to learn to tailor your communication style to the stakeholder or to the stakeholder group. Another thing is effective documentation. You have to learn how to communicate information in a way that in a way that is appropriate for that particular stakeholder, especially when it comes to like maybe diagrams, or you can write, there are documentations that are textual, there are documentations that are visual. You are creating models. So you need to be able to figure out, in this particular phase, should I be doing something visual or should I be doing something textual? Or should I have both? Should I schedule meetings? Should I have interviews? So those kind of things, you need to understand it. What form of documentation is most appropriate at this phase? The other thing that you need to also do is to collaborate. Now, you cannot, even though you are communicating with people, please do not be a robot. Collaborate with them. Get to know about them. Let's say you are attending a meeting, that the project manager is the one anchoring that meeting, and the project manager wants something done that maybe might not take too much time, and you have some time. Maybe you are in your design and development phase. You can take some of those tasks, not because you are not busy, but because you want to collaborate. You want to show that you are a team player, which is critical because your teammates need to see you that way. You also need to be ready to manage conflicts. And that is why communication is very, very important. Communication and collaboration is very, 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 very important. So how do you manage conflicts? Maybe you have a difficult stakeholder. Maybe you have stakeholders that don't seem to agree on a common requirement. You have to be prepared to handle this. And there are different styles. Okay, for instance, a difficult stakeholder. How do you manage a difficult stakeholder? You manage a difficult stakeholder by understanding what is most important to them in this project. From this stakeholder's perspective, what is value? What are they seeking to gain from this project? If you can identify what that so-called difficult stakeholder is trying to gain, then you can try to work to ensure that that person meets the need. So maybe a difficult stakeholder is someone that, as they have requested for something, maybe from the previous BA, and they've not gotten it, and they've lost hope. So anything about BA is really not just important to them. But you can work with this stakeholder by ensuring that you provide them exactly what they want. Provide them exactly what they want. And that way you can resolve that. Another thing is maybe stakeholders are not agreeing on something. Maybe you have marketing and HR, and marketing and HR don't seem to agree on what they want delivered. And you are not sure exactly um what you are going to do. Schedule a JAD session, that's a joint application development session. Bring all the stakeholders together, present them what you want to present them, and let us trash it out. Let's talk about the conflict. Let's talk about that place that we are not agreeing so that we can come to a consensus. So it is very critical that you communicate in a way that helps you to manage conflict. Leverage communication tools. You know, you might, everything doesn't have to be a formal meeting on Teams or Zoom. Sometimes you can send a quick chat to somebody and say, you know what, I have this clarification. Please, can you help me? Or what do you think? Or just, I personally prefer one-on-one meetings than group meetings when I'm having my project. It's just my preference. Some people prefer group meetings. Group meetings, I do group meetings, but if I'm going to do a group meeting, it has to be extremely important. And I am sure that I understand what the needs of that group, what the needs of that group really is. If I don't understand it, I don't schedule group meetings. I look for the key stakeholders, I communicate with them, I have meetings with them, get all their different viewpoints, and that gives me a better understanding of the project before I move on. So I think I'm going to move a little faster. And the last thing is use visuals, visuals, visuals. You are working on your requirements. Does it require you to do a use case model? Do a use case model. Does it require you to do a process flow? Do a process flow. It might even be a meeting with a business stakeholder, and maybe while you are interacting, you can just open your Lucid chart or your Visio, and you like show them a visual just to like I do it. I can open Visio, and while we are talking, I feel that this is more like a process flow. I'll just start sketching the process flow, and that helps them to say, oh no, Harry, this is not what I mean. Oh, Harry, this is what I mean. Why don't we do it this way? So visuals help to communicate effectively to your business stakeholders way, way more than text will do. So use a lot of visuals and videos. So the next thing is you need to understand the project. So you are in a new project. Number one, you need to know who is my project manager. Don't just dive into the project. Get to know them. Schedule a meeting with them. Get to know what their expectations are from the project. Get to know if they already have any challenges or if they foresee any challenge in the project. Get to understand from their own point of view what that project is all about. Speak to the project sponsor if it is possible. If you are permitted, speak to the project sponsor, get to know them, get to know what the timelines are. Another thing you need to do is look for your project charter. Ask the project manager for the project or the project sponsor for the project charter. Read it because it contains valuable information about that particular project. It contains the authorization for the project, but it also contains the problem that the project is supposed to solve. So look for the business case, look for other project materials related to that project, and read, read, read. Another thing you need to do is from that project charter, you should be able to also get your initial stakeholder list. So from your initial stakeholder list, you at least know the departments you are working with. You know maybe your major stakeholders. You know your domain SMEs, just depending on on what you are on the project that you're working on. But remember, you are working with human beings, so it's important to get your stakeholder list. Now, remember in this slide, I mentioned your project charter and other documentation. Now, these are some initial documents that you should review. Number one, your project charter. Your project charter is the authorization that this project can now begin. So you will see a lot of valuable information in that project charter. Even your business case will contain some of your feasibility studies and will contain some other research that has been done around this project. It will also contain information on what value, what end goal is this project supposed to achieve, so that you can figure out how your role as a BA applies to that particular end goal and how you can help achieve that particular end goal. Another critical thing you should ask for in a new project is the project plan, because the project plan contains all most activities or high level activities. It contains the timelines in which those activities should be completed. And if it is a project plan that was properly done, you should see yourself in that project plan. You should see the BA activities or the business analysis activities. Now, initially, it might not be granular. but that's your responsibility to provide your own business analysis plan. But remember, I said you must align with the project plan. Your business analysis plan should align with the project plan. The project plan says you have a week to conduct your analysis. Don't do a plan that would mean you have to conduct analysis in 2 weeks. You are not aligning. And I will always advise share your business analysis plan with your project manager and see if you guys are on the same page. And I said again, study the stakeholder list. Ask questions. Who is my domain SME in this list? Who is my sponsor in this list? Who are my end users in this list? Who are my testers in this list? Who are the business managers in this list? So it's very important that you study that particular documentation. Then, when you have um, um, gone through this document, it's time for you to conduct your own research, and Google is your best friend. Maybe the project is about upgrading a particular CRM product. Go and Google that particular CRM product. Maybe the project is about creating a solution to automate a procurement process or a procure to pay process. Do some search. Go to Gartner. In Gartner, you get some good research output if your organization uses Gartner. Another thing is to use the generative AI. I'm careful about this generative AI, and the reason is because I don't want you to, how do I phrase it? So use generative AI, but do not put company proprietary information in a generative AI like ChatGPT. So don't put your company name, don't put company sensitive information. You don't want to get into trouble. So if you are going to use ChatGPT, use it discreetly and use it on a general level, because any information you put there is stored somewhere, regardless of what anyone tells you. And you don't want your company information in there. So you need to use it discreetly. You need to use it wisely. Don't put your company names. Don't put the names of your colleagues. Don't put sensitive information in ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool. They are very good research materials, but you also have to be smart the way you use them. You can also check industry standards. So do you have the ISOs? ISO 5000, ISO. You have different ISOs. You can go there and check depending on the industry that you are in. Another thing, if you are working on a solution, you can look at the release notes. What are release notes? Every time a solution or a piece of software is created, the developers usually would create a release note. The release note contains the version of that particular solution, and it contains very critical information about what that particular software or that version of that software can do. So you get to know about the features of that software. You get to know about the features of that software in that particular version. Some of them will show you the features in previous versions. So it's a very, very good place where you can understand the current functions or features of a particular solution. And this one is really critical, especially when you are doing an upgrade. If you are doing an upgrade, you need to at least know what the current version can do. Now, before we move forward, I mentioned that we're having a 9 weeks business analysis and data analytics training coming up October 7. And we're going to talk about everything from business analysis to everything from introduction to business analysis to the approach to delivering business analysis work to different tools and different concepts. And we have a couple of faculties that will be taking that experience in their role. And if you are interested, the link is just there. You can go to that link and register. Today, we are going to be having a special promotion, and in that promotion, we are going to be giving about 40% discount, for this particular training. And the 40% discount, you know, you can only have the 40% discount if you show interest in the next, how many hours? In the next 4 hours. So after today, that promo is off. So this training for that discount, we are going to be able to get it for 1,200. Um, and just send us an email and make your payments this evening if you are interested. But it's only going to happen just for tonight only. And part of what you will get is you have access to the Scrum Fundamental certification. It's all paid. It's part of your fee. And you also have access to your Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt certification if you're interested in that. We in this training we also do resume reviews and interview preps. So just reach out to us if you're interested. I'll move on away from that. So the next thing that I think you should work on is understand the project phases. Now, understand the phase that this project is on, number one. But before we talk about that, I just want to talk about the various phases of a project. Number one phase is the initiation phase, but I'm talking about it from the business analysis point of view. And what is in your initiation phase? Your initiation phase is the phase where the project is just about starting. That is where we already have a project charter that authorizes that the project should start. We have a business case, we have stakeholder list. The project manager is already scheduling meeting that this project is starting, engaging all the stakeholders. Usually, we'll have a project kickoff. And in that project kickoff, we get introduced to most of the stakeholders, at least from that the stakeholders have been identified at that time. The next phase is your planning phase. In this planning, I'm talking about business analysis plan. And in business analysis plan, there are different things that we're going to plan for, but we'll talk a little about that as we move on. You're going to do your business approach, business analysis approach. And what does that mean? Are you going to be doing agile or waterfall? Like I've been asked in an interview, what are the planning activities that you perform in your business analysis project? So this is actually very, very, very critical. If you don't plan, then if you fail to plan, then you are planning to fail. So it's very important. Your communication plan is one of the outputs of this phase. Your business analysis approach, your stakeholder analysis is another one that comes out from here. Your business analysis activities and estimate of the time it will take you to perform each of the tasks all come out of your planning phase. Because if you don't do those estimates, who is going to pay you? It means you are working for free. And I don't think anybody here really wants to live their life working for free. So that's why your planning phase is important. Then we also have the analysis phase. The analysis phase is where a bulk of your work is. And in this phase, what you do is to do your current state analysis. So where are we? What is the problem that the business is facing right now? It could be a paper-based process, where there's a lot of paper being thrown around. These papers are getting missing. The process is taking too long. Let's say you want your overtime approved. I love overtime. So let's say you want your overtime approved and you can't seem to get this overtime approved on time. That's a process that might need improvement or that might need some form of automation. And it could be it might be your organization wants to buy a new tool or they want to do an upgrade. Remember I talked about release notes. This is where you start doing that. You start digging into the current state. You start digging into the future state. Where are we going to? So we know where we are. What is the future state where we are going to? And you do something called a gap analysis. So I am here. I am in A. I'm going to B. But how do I move from A to B? Just like your Google map or your Apple map. Your Apple map knows where you are if you are traveling, and your Apple map, you type in where you are going to. It now does an internal analysis to tell you all the various routes to get to your destination. And it also tells you the fastest route. It tells you how long it will take you for each of the routes. So your analysis phase is very critical because this is where you most likely produce your requirements document and you get to understand the business need. Then we have the design and build. The design and build is mainly for the developers, but sometimes the developers need clarifications on certain requirements that you have written. So you are going to be having constant collaboration. Remember, I talk about communication and collaboration. At this phase, you are going to be communicating a lot with the developers. In the analysis phase, you'll be communicating a lot with the business stakeholders that currently have that issue. Now, the developers in the design phase would, start writing the technical requirement document. If you are a systems analyst, you might be responsible for writing out the technical requirement document. And number five, the fifth phase is the testing and deployment. So this is where the solution is already ready, is ready in the test environment or the dev environment or whatever environment the prototype or the solution is in. You can go there and begin to test. And what are you testing? You are testing the solution against the requirements that have been written. And one tool that you can use for testing is something called a test plan and a test case. The test plan and the test case, and that really helps you do what you need to do. Then, after that, you begin to do your preparation for deployment. So, you write your test report. If your test report says, according to the acceptance criteria, it says that, yeah, this solution is good to go, is good to be deployed, then you prepare for deployment. If it is not good to go, maybe because of certain bugs that have been discovered. So, what are bugs? Bugs are just malfunctions in a particular software or in a particular solution. Usually, these bugs need to be fixed, and you don't want to take bugs into production. That is a no, no. Now, maybe these are minor bugs, but everything depends on your business approval. But you are like an advisor, so you need to be knowledgeable enough so that you can advise your business stakeholders. And lastly, maintenance phase. The maintenance phase is when the solution is in production and you need to constantly maintain or ensure that this solution is working as it has been agreed to work. So what I want to do now, let's go into each of these phases. Because, for instance, you go into a project and the analysis phase has been complete. Maybe that BA got promoted, and they brought you as a new BA. You don't want to start doing planning. Of course, you will plan, but not as elaborate as if this is a new project. The business requirement document has been done. What you want to do, you want to start reading that business requirement document and checking the project plan to understand the next phase. As the vendor started developing the solution, are we buying a custom made solution? Are we buying an off the shelf solution? So there are a lot of things that you need to talk about. So my point is that the phase that the project is in determines what you would be doing. So, for instance, let's say you come into a project and it's a brand new project. And in this brand new project, you are starting from the initiation phase, of course, because it's brand new. So, what are the inputs to your BA work? Number one, your business case, which we've talked about, is an artifact. So, you read your business case, understand your project charter, understand your project plan, um, get your stakeholder list. And some of the activities and techniques that you will use is document analysis because you are reading to understand, and also some form of stakeholder engagement because you are talking to your stakeholders. And the deliverables from the business analysis point of view is number one, an understanding of the business case, an understanding of your project charter, your business analysis plan. Your business analysis plan is an output. Your business analysis plan is an output, and you should maybe at this stage have add an updated stakeholder list. So you remember you had your initial stakeholder list, but you now have an updated stakeholder list based on interaction with the business stakeholders. So if you are starting your project at the initial phase, these are the inputs that you will need. These are the activities that you will perform, and these are the deliverables that you should have from this phase. The next phase is your planning phase. For your planning phase, the inputs you need are your project structure. You need to know your project structure. What do I mean by that? Who is my project manager? Who is my project manager? Who is my project sponsor? Who are my domain subject matter experts? What is a domain subject matter expert? That is the business stakeholder that understands the business problem most. So it's usually a business manager. Who is my implementation um, SME, my implementation subject matter expert? Who is that? My implementation subject matter expert is that technical person that understands the solution most. So you need to know the project structure and you need to know who you should be talking to. Your input again is your project charter, your project plan, and your stakeholder list. Some of the activities that you will perform will be your stakeholder engagement still and also your document analysis. So this is planning phase. And your output or your deliverables, those things that you will deliver at the end of this phase is number one, the business analysis approach. So I want this to be a little interactive. Can anybody type what you think the business analysis approach is? Because I've been talking, and I want to like see if anyone, what do you think the business analysis approach is? Um this is a live webinar, a live presentation. Anyone? I just want to know what you think the business analysis approach is. I'm waiting for a quick comment. Anyone? What is the business analysis approach? I'm sure we have some BAs or some senior BAs here that can help with that information. Okay, I'm not getting an answer. I'm not sure why I'm not getting an answer. I'm not getting an answer from anybody. Is everybody here a newbie? Okay. What are exactly? Thank you, John Mosugu. Thank you so much. So your business analysis approach is the delivery method for this particular project. Thank you so much, John. Is the delivery method. So are you going to be delivering using waterfall, or are you going to be delivering using agile, or are you going to be delivering during using hybrid? Now, if you don't understand any of these three things, you actually need to be part of the training that I'm going to start October 7th if you don't understand. But even if you understand and you need more information, waterfall agile, yes. Thank you, Wally Oguniro. Yes. Even if you understand, you also need to be part of that training. Another deliverable is your communication plan. It's about the framework to be used. Excellent, Amma. Another important thing is your communication plan. So when you understand your stakeholders, how do you communicate with them? Like I said, you should not be sending your project sponsor an email every day. You can't be communicating with your project sponsor every day. That's going to wear the project sponsor out. And you don't want someone to report you and say, why exactly is this person coming to me? So you need to understand your stakeholders and figure out exactly how you communicate with them. Another thing is, if you are working in a remote environment, communication, what kind of communication plan are you going to like use? We are not going to be having sit down meetings in a physical environment. It's going to be online. Or you have stakeholders, but your stakeholders are in different zones or different time zones in the world. I worked somewhere where my business stakeholders were in the US, my developers were in India, my no, my testers were in India, my developers were in Pakistan, and they were all in different time zones. And scheduling a meeting to have everybody in one place, I only have 1 hour break, just 1 hour during my own work time that I will have everybody. So it was extremely difficult. And that is why, thank you, Adetun, Aderigba. Thank you for that. Waterfall or Agile. So your communication plan is critical. How will you communicate? What is your mode of communication? And what kind of information would you also be communicating? The next deliverable is your business analysis plan. What is your business analysis plan? The business analysis plan is your estimate of how much work, how much time it will take you to do your work, not in a lump sum, but per activity. So if you go to your project plan details the major activities for the project, and your activity should be part of it. You are supposed to do a business analysis activity plan where you put a time. And remember, I said your business analysis activity plan must align with the project plan. And this should be submitted to the project manager to ensure that there's proper alignment. If you don't have an estimate for how long you will work, then who is going to pay you? Because remember, you are paid per hour. Most places you are paid per hour. So it is very, very critical that you have these activities well laid out, and you have that plan well documented. Then the last thing is one of your deliverables is to have an updated list. For instance, you spoke to the domain subject matter expert and say, "Oh, Harry, you also need to talk to this stakeholder." What that means is that you are going to have your stakeholder list will start growing. Most likely they grow, they hardly shrink. It's possible it shrinks, but they really hardly shrink. So, and it's always important you carry everybody along. There are some stakeholders that will just be upset because you did not send the meeting invite to them. They might not come, but they just like the idea that they got the meeting invite. Now, remember that as much as possible, you are aiming for success in this project. You are aiming for success. So do not let your ego come in. Do not let your pride come in. Just focus on the work and get that work done with delivered in the right time at the right time and delivered with the right quality. Just make sure that you do that. So if you are in the planning phase, these are your inputs and these are your deliverables. Now the next phase is your analysis phase. In your analysis phase, like I said, this is where your core work as a BA comes in. Your inputs are number one, the current process flow. So you are asked to automate or improve a particular business process. You want to know what is the business process. You know the department. What are the activities in this process? Who are the stakeholders? So if you have a swim lane, but some organizations don't even have a swim lanes for their processes. So you might need to engage the domain subject matter expert. Now, I have colleagues and friends, senior BAs, project managers that will schedule a large meeting to get the current state. I don't do that. I just don't do that. I want to look for the most knowledgeable, engage that person, understand the process, understand all the activities in the process, and I can quickly draw a process flow or a swim lane diagram while talking to the person. And I will ask the person, who else can I engage with? So let's say this project or this solution will impact HR and sales. I will have a meeting with the HR domain subject matter expert. I will have a separate meeting with the sales domain subject matter expert, so that I'll get their point of views without somebody else influencing what they think. But I know other BAs that do it the opposite way and they get very good results. So, but that's just my style. So I'm telling you, figure out your style, but try and understand the current state. So the CS means current process flows. Another input are your release notes. I've mentioned a lot about release notes. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Architectural documents, because the architectural documents give you the solution and the business from the perspective on a high level technical architectural point of view. Say BA, you should be able to read architectural documents. Some are very complicated, some are not complicated. But don't worry about it. Just schedule a meeting with the architect or with the solution architect or a technical person in the organization, whoever gave you this documentation, schedule a meeting. Some organizations don't use architectural documents, some use. I'm just putting that there just in case your organization use. So don't be scared because you see architectural documents there. And the stakeholder list. So you see that I keep talking about stakeholder list because it's important. Your stakeholder list will grow and grow and grow. And in your analysis phase, you need to know who to talk to. Now, in the analysis phase, there are three things that you do, three main things. Uh, should I try? Does anybody know what those three things that you do in your analysis phase are? Anyone? Your analysis phase, what do you think are the most critical thing? I'm going to type one and I will see if we can get the other one. Understand current state. So, does anybody have idea of what the others should be? So, the first one is to understand your current state. Any suggestion on what other activity should be in your analysis phase? The first one is understand your current state. Any suggestions on what you think the next activity should be? I think there's a lag, so I'm not seeing your updates on time. Okay, so I'm not seeing any updates, so I think I'll just move on. So number one is understand the current state. Number two is understand the future state. Define. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Define the future state. Number three, thank you so much, Sanche. Thank you, Christiana. Thank you, Bill. Adex. Wow. Okay. You know what? Thank you, everybody. That's excellent. So understand your current state, understand your future state, then do your gap analysis. So where am I? Where am I going to? And how do I get from where I am to where I am going to? So, and that is so one of the techniques we use is gap analysis. Another technique that you could use is called SIPOC. Now, what do I mean by SIPOC? Let me see. Do I have my, you know what? I'm not going to do that. SIPOC. SIPOC is just a technique where that helps you to analyze a process. It, the S stands for your supplier. The I stands for your input. So suppliers supply inputs to a process that produces outputs to customers. So I just tried to say SIPOC. So suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers. So suppliers supply inputs to processes that produce outputs to customers. Great. Thank you, Princess. Then another technique is your document analysis, your use case models. So your use case models are just interactions between your current state. No, what am I saying? Use case models are interactions between stakeholders and the solution. Simply, that's what use cases. But I don't have time to discuss that in full. Supplier. No, it's not. It's not supplier problem. It's okay. Sorry, I don't think I understand what you're saying. I'll just leave it at that. The another thing you need to do is your process analysis. Where you begin to understand your process. Are there gaps in your process? You can have a process with 20 activities. But after your analysis, you discover that I really don't need 20 activities for this process. I can actually do with 10 activities while I will automate the remaining 10. So at the end of the day, if those 20 activities take 2 hours, if I eliminate 10 effectively and replace them with some form of improvement, that process that takes 1 hour can actually be done in 30 minutes. And one way to do that is automate, 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 automate. you know and one of the easiest processes to automate are those ones that are paper based, that everything is about paper. Those ones are very, very easy for you to automate. Now, the outputs from your analysis phase is your future state process flow, your use case models. you know I don't just how will your stakeholders interact with that solution? It might be a new solution, it might be an upgrade. How will your stakeholders interact with the upgraded solution? So I'm talking general now. I'm very general in the way I'm talking because it could be any project. Then you begin to draft your requirements. What are requirements? Requirements are requirements are that condition or those conditions or capabilities that your stakeholders expect from the solution. Or requirements are those conditions or capabilities that your solution can offer to your stakeholders. So you can look at it from the stakeholder perspective. You can look at it from the stakeholder perspective. If you look at it from stakeholder perspective, then they are like functional or non-functional requirements. If you look at it from the business perspective, then they are become user stories. But I don't want to go into much detail about that. But functional and non-functional requirements are more from the solutions perspective, while user stories are more from the user's perspective. And each of them applies to your various kind of delivery method or a business analysis approach, whether it is waterfall or it is agile or it is hybrid. So these are the outputs that you should have as a business analyst from your analysis phase. Now, from your build phase, remember I said your build phase is where your technical team is going to be doing a lot of work. But it doesn't mean as a BA you get your hands folded and just like, just You're not doing anything. No. So, oh, we've exceeded our time. Just we'll soon be done. We'll soon be done. Just give me a few seconds. We'll soon be done. So the inputs to your design and build phase are your functional requirements that you worked on, your non-functional requirement, the user stories, and your use case. All this you will send to the technical team, while the technical team would write their own technical requirement document or whatever name they call that document, but there's a technical document that they write. Now, in this phase, some of your techniques and activities will be, for instance, like JAT sessions, where you are meeting with the business, with the technical team, and you are also inviting the business just for clarifications of some things. But there's a lot of stakeholder engagement here. Your outputs are business clarifications, technical clarifications, and maybe an updated business requirement document because your technical team can bring up an idea that you and the business did not think about. And this might make you go back to the business and say, okay, fine, we have some limitations in our infrastructure, the environment we have. We have limitations that this feature that you are looking for is not currently possible, but we are going to do a research or there's going to be an upgrade of the solution in 2 years to come, and then we'll have that. So you might need to go back to your business requirement document to update that requirement document or write new user stories, and put them in some other phases. Great. So we also have apart from the design, we have the testing phase, but because of time, I'm not going to go into the testing phase, the deployment phase, the maintenance phase. I can't go into that because of time. It's supposed to be 1 hour, and I want to stick to my 1 hour time. So I'll just use this to also just talk about our training. It's coming up. If you register today, you send an email to us, you should be able to get your 40% discount on this, which takes it to like 1,200. And just let us know. So I want to know, does anyone have any questions? If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. We've exceeded our time, so I don't want to go more than this. Do you have any question in relation to, let's say you started a project, but you are having some challenges with the project, and you would like to know, how do I manage this? One challenge I know people face is difficult stakeholders, but I think that one is you can salvage that. If you have any question, just quickly put it in the chat. Please like our YouTube page. Follow our YouTube page. We have a lot of webinars that are coming up. We have a new one coming up on non-functional requirements. How do you extract non-functional requirements? I'm hearing a lot of information that this is a challenge for people, so it's something I want to work on. But I'm using this time to just see if there are any questions. If anyone has any question of a challenge that you are having on your in your new project, you don't have to mention your company name. I don't need to know that. But just on a general perspective, any challenge that you're having, that you've that you might want to ask a question about so that we can see if we can provide an answer to that. From what I can see, for those that are in the chat, I just want to say thank you while waiting for the questions. I want to say thank you to Princess, Sanchez, Yewande, Wale, Oguniro, Adex, Opia, Christiana, Izika, Bill, Marimbu, Ama, Christiana, yes, Adetone, John Mosugu, Al Maverick, who else again? Oops Gaming. I don't know who that is, but thank you for joining. Mary Ige, Abiodun Idowu, and okay. Any questions? Okay, I don't have any questions, so I think I would have to call it a day. So I want to say thank you to everyone that joined this webinar. We will be having more engagement, and if you follow us, you'll get to know when we have this information. Follow me on LinkedIn or NineTech Learning on LinkedIn, and you get to know when we have questions for you to when we have new webinars and we have information to share. So thank you so much, and I wish you all a very wonderful evening. If it's already morning for you, good morning to you, and I wish you a good night rest. Thank you.